Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stock specific class here for Thursday, October the 21st. Getting a little bit of a pause in the market today. Talked a lot about kind of the overbought conditions we were building towards on Tuesday. We moved up a little bit further yesterday. Dow almost broke out to new all-time high. Same with the S&P. Kind of backed off a little bit today. We'll take a look at those charts here in just a second. But there are some things we need to start being concerned about a little bit. Well, I mentioned a lot of them on Tuesday. But one thing that's kind of standing out here on the direction alerts, and again, you can see it right here on this chart in a little bit more detail, but you can see the surge right here in momentum. Sentiment has remained high, and it's still high, but what's lagging again is breadth. We're not getting. What that's telling me again is that the market is surging here, but there's only a few stocks that are causing it to surge. There's not a lot of broad participation, and so now that could change, but that is something to keep an eye on. If we continue to see that, we saw it earlier or later in the summer, several weeks ago, kind of saw the same thing and ended up having that little bit of a market pullback. Again, it was a little bit of a warning sign that not to trust the rally at the time too much, and it proved to be a smart thing not to trust it with the lack of breadth, lack of participation. You can see here momentum is almost in the extreme range. Again, it can get all the way to the far right side of the extreme range before we need to really be concerned. Breadth, though, you can see is still lagging pretty bad. We're not even out of the trending range here. We've had this nice rally for pretty much all week, and we haven't been able to get out of the trending range as far as breadth. And so we'll keep an eye on that, see if we continue to see that divergent sentiment. Again, not quite in the extreme range, but moving in that direction. The buy-sell ratios of the entire market is now up above 2. That's a good sign as far as a lot of stocks that are moving from hold to buy. As far as the buy-sell ratio range here, you can see that we're not in an extreme range at all yet, so there's still room for the market to run based on this. And so again, just because I'm pointing out that we're seeing some overbought conditions doesn't necessarily mean that the market has to turn around. Very often you start to see overbought conditions, and it's kind of the start of the later stage of the trend, and then you can get that pullback or reversal sometime down the road. So it may sound like I'm all the minute the market starts to look a little bit overbought, I'd start screaming overbought. Like I'm expecting an immediate pullback. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is just point out the signs. I'll let you know when I'm really concerned or really think we're close. But it one of the problems, and maybe I have a tendency because of the experience I have over the years. I've had a lot of experience early on, in particular, where you let your bias get drawn in, where you start to feel really good. You're making money with your bullish trades. Everyone's bullish on the market. You feel like you're on the right side of it. You feel like you're smarter than everyone else, and you get a tunnel vision where you only want to look at reasons why the market's going to go up. You want to ignore any reason why the market could go down, and then you get burned. You get caught up in the big sell-off, and you're beat up by the big sell-off. And after a while, after a couple of those, you start looking back and saying, "Hey, was there anything that could have warned me of this? Did I have any chance at all to get out of this without so much pain?" And as you study technical analysis and charts and human behavior and Elliott wave analysis and things like that, you learn that there are a lot of clues along the way that can warn you when you're getting close. And nothing can tell you exactly, but there are things that can tell you when you need to be concerned and probably need to be a little bit more defensive. And instead of going charging full bore, you need to do the opposite. You need to start becoming a little bit more defensive. And we're getting close to that stage where the rest of the crowd's going to feel like go all in, and we're going to start saying, hey, we need to be a little bit more defensive here. We're going to be a little more cautious. Sentiment indicator now. This sentiment indicator is getting real close to that extreme range right here. Probably not a surprising that we're seeing the market slow up a little bit today. And it's a little bit of a mixed market. The NASDAQ's up, but the Dow and S&P are down. We'll look at those charts here in just a second. You can see the details of that, and why I still think, ultimately, I still think those indexes will end up breaking out to new all-time highs. We're just too close right here for that not to happen. Another thing I told you a couple weeks ago to start keeping an eye on, if we go to the index tab up here, is I said start keeping an eye on the buy-sell ratios of the different indexes. We were pretty low at the time. There was really no concern at the time. I said what would cause me to get concerned is when we start to see double-digit ratios. Now we do see a very high double-digit ratio right here in the Dow Industrials. And remember, the Dow is the closest index to breaking out to new all-time highs. And it's showing a 17-to-1 buy-sell ratio. That means that there are 17 buys to 1 sell right here. And so what that tells me is that index is starting to get a little bit overbought. Now, it is only 30 stocks in that index, so it's a small one. This can fluctuate pretty quickly because of that. So we're not going to overreact to that. What I would tend to really kind of focus on is S&P 500. That's a good one. If you just want to pick one to really focus on to see whether we're getting a little bit out of control or not, that's probably a broad enough one to kind of focus on. Oh, that's NASDAQ 100, excuse me, NASDAQ 5 or S&P 500 right here. S&P 500, we're at about 6-to-1 on the S&P 500. Still okay, and it reflects kind of what we saw in the other charts. We're getting close to that overbought range, but we're not quite there yet. Actually, this would be a strong indication that to be bullish in the near term, because we are seeing a strong surge, but it's not extreme yet. So I would expect this trend to continue. This is another bullish argument why I would expect in the near term the S&P to ultimately end up breaking out to new all-time highs. But we got to watch it, because if it starts to get up around 10-to-1, 12-to-1, something like that, we're getting into a little bit of an extreme. And then if you again combine that with, are we in the extreme range on the breadth, the sentiment, and the momentum indicators there on the direction alerts. The Russell 2000 is even a broader index here that you can watch. It's only at 3-to-1. So, but that's also telling me that, again, those small caps have been lagging. It's been the large cap stocks that have large cap industrials really that have really been kind of leading the way. Not even large cap tech. You know, you look at NASDAQ 100 and it's even lagging the Russell 2000. It's barely 2-to-1. So again, nothing that's really throwing off alarm bells right now, but again, we want to keep an eye on that. Do we start to see that get a little bit shifted too far to the buy side, and combine that with, are we seeing some of those extreme readings in those other indicators? And again, I know I've talked a lot about this, and sometimes there's a lot of repetition in these updates. I try not to ramble on as much as I can, but I also have a lot of new people coming in, and some people just view the recording, some people are viewing it live, new subscribers, and so I want to make sure that they're not completely lost, or that they're getting some value out of it, and they don't have to go back and review the last 10 updates to kind of get to where we're at right now. So if you get frustrated with a little bit of the repetition or overlap, I'll try to limit it as much as I can, but it's trying to appeal to a broader audience of where everyone's at. Everyone's at different stages in their training. Some are experienced, some are beginners, and I'm trying to kind of make it valuable for everyone without wasting any time. All right, let's get into looking at the charts. And let's switch this over to candlesticks here. So here's the S&P. You can see we're real close. We're down today, but we're real close to breaking out. I just can't see a scenario where we're this close to breaking out. We don't break out. Now, it is possible that we consolidate a little bit before breaking out. If there is some uncertainty that arises, if the traders don't quite feel we deserve to break out, we could see a little bit more of a sideways move. We could even pull back a little bit from here. I don't expect any sort of deeper pullback, but you can get a little bit of a sell-off before breaking out. So trying to predict exactly what's going to happen over the next few days is impossible. I will say that typically when you have this stretch of move, I mentioned this on Tuesday, when you've moved up several days in a row into a breakout, typically you're going to pause before you break out. It would surprise me to get a little bit more of a sideways move. Or if we did break out, you kind of get the hoopla of the one day and then pull back or move sideways, consolidate a little bit. That's a pretty big move right there to not have some sort of a consolidation. And it could just be something like this as far as a pullback, a 2 or 3 day small little pullback move. We've seen some of these little moves happen, or it could look like this where it's just kind of sideways for a little bit. But I would anticipate we get something like that here pretty soon. The Dow chart, this one actually had I believe it had an intraday high. I'm going to double check that because I was going to double check that yesterday. The high yesterday was 356.58. This high was 356.60. So the intraday high didn't quite take out that previous all-time high. We came very close. Again, it's pulled back a little bit today. Same thing with the S&P chart. We could see it pull back a little bit or move sideways a little bit. Ultimately, though, I still think we're going to break out and go higher. It is worth pointing out we are in the extreme reversal risk, but we're just entered into that. We could get all the way over the right side before we'd have to get concerned. And if it does move sideways right here, this would back off. It would move back into that buy range. Just moving sideways would alleviate that overbought condition. Now, it's worth noting that, again, I'm looking at this from the standpoint of probabilities. I just pointed out that, having a big run up into a breakout area, the stronger probability is that we'll move sideways or pull back, or if we do barely break out over the next day or two, that we would then move sideways or pull back. The smallest probability is that we're going to continue this incredible move where we break out and run. Okay, so how can I apply that then to my decisions? Well, okay. First of all, I got to understand that any trade I get into today, I might have to wait a little bit before it gets going. If the market moves sideways and that stock moves sideways, I would say when the market moves sideways, it'll be about at least a week for it to move sideways. And it won't feel sideways a lot of times. You'll see, the market's up today. And, Dow's up 200 points today. Tomorrow, the Dow's down 100 points. That's all right. We were up 200 points yesterday. Dow's up, 100 points today. Okay, we've recovered what we did yesterday. Dow's down 250 points today. It'll be kind of a whipsaw type feeling that it won't, you're unless you're looking at the chart, you won't really notice that it's not going anywhere. It's kind of going back and forth. And so But like I said, usually it's at a minimum about a week when it consolidates like that. Sometimes it can be more than that. And sometimes may not necessarily be day to day. You could have 2 days in a row where the Dow drops 100 points or something, and then has a 200-point rally or something like that. So the point is that I just have to realize that whatever trade I get into may not necessarily move immediately. Now, this could be a little bit more important if you're trading options. What this tells me right here is that if I'm buying call options, I'd want to make sure I have a lot of time. I could still get into the trade because you never know. It could have that breakout move where it takes off, but you'd want to make sure you have a little bit more time on your options because it could consolidate for a week, at least a week before even starting to move. It doesn't look like a pullback here would be the start of a bigger move down, so I'd be less inclined to buy a lot of put options, maybe very short-term put option trades if I were trading options. But the bottom line is that those are kind of the scenarios. However you need to apply it to your decision-making process, you could apply it that way. You just have to understand that that's a more likely outcome. Now, having said that, we probably get the low percentage outcome where it breaks out and takes off. This happens all the time to me. It's like because I look at everything in terms of probabilities, and I'll outline some expectation based on probabilities. And anytime I start to do that, it ends up being the low probability outcome. I guess that's just Murphy's Law, you know. But you know, if you're real smart, you could wait for me to really analyze something and tell you what I really think is likely to happen, and then just do the opposite. You know, be a millionaire. So I had a guy one time. It was that he was following me, and I had gone through a rough stretch where I wasn't the picks I was pointing out weren't doing well. And that happens to everybody. You'll have a period in fact, it happens all the time where you have these streaks where you get on a winning streak and everything seems to work out, and then you'll have a losing streak where nothing seems to work out. But he sent me an email. And he's like, he was upset because the last few picks hadn't worked out. He said, if I just did the opposite of what you told me to do, I'd be a millionaire. I don't know why I'm listening to you. If I just did the opposite, I'd be rich. And I said, well, do the opposite then. Why, if you're so convinced that's the solution, then why are you mad? You should be doing the exact opposite of everything I tell you. You should be excited to do the exact opposite of everything I tell you because you're going to be rich. But the problem is that's not going to happen, because then I'm going to go on a winning streak, and then everything opposite of that is going to be not work out. So every trader I know of has had that thought in their mind at some point in their trading career. Man, if I just did the opposite of what I ended up doing, I'd be rich. And the reason why we all have that thought process is because we think it's possible, or we think that's a solution, but it isn't. We just fail to recognize the times when we are right. We only focus on the times when we're wrong, or we only focus on the losing streaks. We ignore the winning streaks. In the winning streaks, we're smart, right? We're intelligent, and we're smarter than everybody else. And so we don't look at it as, part of a process. We look at it as we're so smart. When it doesn't work out, we put a lot of energy in focusing in on that. Anyway, that's a tangent here. We don't need to go on. All right, so let's take a look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's been lagging, like I said, and that concerns me a little bit. I mentioned this on Tuesday. It is usually it's the leadership, and this one should have been breaking out first, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Now it is up today versus the other index being down, but not by much. But that does worry me a little bit that's lagging so much. So, all right. So that's kind of the condition we're in. Now, I don't know that I want to add too much in this environment, just because of the fact that that we could consolidate a little bit and move sideways a little bit. And to be honest with you, I went through a lot of charts, a lot of stocks I even like out of the high sectors are already in our watch list. So we're already kind of waiting on those. So we'll go through a couple of new ones here, but then let's kind of go back to our watch list and see if there's any that's triggering or could be close to triggering. I did get into one off the watch list yesterday, just because it triggered, and I knew it was gonna. Well, I knew that I'd probably get the email because it triggered, and so we'll look at that here in just a second. But if we go into sectors here, stay in the oil sector. I'm going to go into the buys though, because since the market's pulled back a little bit, some of the oil stocks have pulled back a little bit. What I want to see is, are there any oil stocks that had buys that have pulled back and they're at holds, and we haven't seen it yet? It hasn't shown up in the hold section yet, because remember, the system updates overnight. And one that I found that I liked was NOG, had a 96 strength rank, Northern Oil and Gas. Now let's switch the signals on here. And it's gone to a hold signal today, but again, you have this breakout here. It's been in the buy for a while. It's had a little bit of a pullback. It could pull back a little bit deeper. In fact, it's possible if oil has a bigger correction, it comes down towards that breakout area. But I thought we'd kind of keep an eye, because if it does rebound, it might be one we want to jump in. It might still have that momentum to the upside. And so I thought I'd throw that in there. In fact, let's go ahead and add that. And I'll put the alert on it. Again, once you set up your stock and your watch list, you can check this little box right here, and you can set up an alert to tell you, to email you when the signal goes from hold to buy, because that's the entry. That's the generic entry signal for what we're doing right now with the system. We are going to take a different approach with the exit techniques. And you'll get a feel for that as you kind of follow along and see what I'm doing. I like to just kind of use a little bit of a trailing stop based on the chart, trailing stop formation. All right, so another one let's go to computer and technology. And going down the list a little bit here, because a lot of these ones above it we're already in, but I like this blink charging. We've watched this before, put this in our watch list before. BLNK, 91 strength rank. Now again, it's been declining, but again, we might have this early stage where we have this move, had lower highs, lower lows down through here. We've already had this large decline. We had a little bit of a sharp move up, not really impulsive, but a little bit of a move up, and then we've been moving sideways right here. It's a real subtle possibility that we're reversing. We probably need to break out and go to a buy signal, and that would give us a little bit of a higher low and a higher high. We probably would like to take out that previous lower high on the way down to give us a little bit more confirmation that maybe we're turning the corner. I thought I'd throw that out there. We can kind of just watch it. And by the way, just because I have these in the watch list, even if they go from hold to buy, it doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. I only have a limited amount of capital as well. But I'll be able to look at it and see if the chart still looks good, and if I want to go ahead and enter. So let's go ahead and add this one. I'll put the alert in. Real quickly though, the reason why I like to, because I've had people tell me, well, Jerry, we're supposed to be trend traders. Are you trying to pick a bottom? And the answer to that is, I'm not trying to pick a bottom, because if I was trying to pick a bottom, I'd be trying to get in right down here somewhere. What I'm trying to do is recognize when the stock is acting like an uptrend as early as I possibly can. Are there characteristics right in here that start to show that it's turning the corner? The reason I love these types of trades is that the risk is very low, but the potential reward is very high. If this is turning the corner and it's going to start stair-stepping up, it's reasonable to believe it could get back up to its previous recent high that it pulled back from, which gives you tremendous reward potential for, very little risk depending on how you're managing your trade. And, it also comes from kind of a psychological point of view. I learned this in Elliott wave analysis that whenever you're near a bottom, one of the characteristics of a bottom is that nobody likes a stock. Nobody believes it's going to go up. Have you ever looked at a stock that it was moving down and suddenly it started taking off and moving up and moving up and moving up, had this huge move, and you're up here looking at it, everyone's talking about the stock and everyone thinks it's great, and you say, wow, I wish I would have bought it all the way down here. Why can't I buy stocks all the way down here? The reason is down here, nobody likes a stock. Nobody believes it's going to. If you go to your friend and say, what do you think of this stock? They say, oh, that's terrible. You don't want to buy that. That's a piece of junk. It never feels right to buy when you're at a bottom. So if you're ever expecting to feel confident and expecting to feel like it's the right trade and everyone's going to love it, you're never going to have that at a bottom. You have that type of feeling at a top, because the fact the stock has moved up tells you that more and more people are buying in. As more and more people are buying in, more and more people are what? More and more people are bullish on the stock. Why? Because you don't buy something unless you believe it's going to go higher. You will never buy something unless, for some reason, whatever that reason is, you believe it's going to go higher. Think about that. And again, it could be a reasonable reason. It could be, well, look at the fundamentals here, or this analyst likes it and blah blah blah. Or it could be simply, I saw a post on Reddit, and this guy said he bought it with diamond hands, and so I think it's going to go higher. It doesn't matter. You, for some reason, believe it's going to go higher. And guess what? You will never own a stock that you believe is going to go down. If you're convinced that stock is going to go down, you're not going to continue to own it. No one would. The problem is, though, is when you get near a top, everybody that wants to own the stock already owns it. I often liken this to being like at a party of, I used to say it's like having a special party of all Apple stock owners. Can you imagine that party? You're all sitting around chatting. What are you going to be talking about at that party? Well, first of all, you're an Apple stock owner. So the only way you're going to keep owning that stock is if you think it's going to go higher. So what are the conversations going to be like? Oh, I think Apple's going to go to 2,000. Oh, no, you're crazy. It's going to go to 2,500. Oh, you're all crazy. It's going to be the first $10,000 stock in the next 2 years. Everyone's going to believe it's going to go higher, but the problem is that everyone that wants to own the stock is already in the stock. What do you need to have it keep going higher? You need new people to come in to believe it's going to go higher. And at some point, you have the optimism on the stock at its greatest, but no new people to come in. What does that stock price have to do? It has to come down. And that's why that phrase where I say over and over, when it feels safe to get in, it usually isn't. Because when it feels safe to get in, it's like being in that party. Everyone's telling you what you want to hear. And you feel like you're in the right place because everyone agrees with you. But you got to force yourself to think of the opposite. That is not a good sign when that happens. Now, this is just the opposite here. This is when nobody thinks this thing is any good. Again, I don't know if it's going to take off or not, but I want to look for those subtle clues that maybe it's turning the corner. And it may not. We've had a few of these that looked like they were turning the corner and reverse, went right back down. And what do? We just discard and move on. Because I could have about 3 or 4 of these not work out, and then have one that does, and that one time it does, it's going to more than make up for the ones that don't. And that's kind of the philosophy you have to, mindset you have to have. So I think I went ahead and added this one already. Let's go to one more. Hold on just a second. Let's go to consumer discretion. The reason why I'm laughing is because I was just mocking the Reddit crowd, and here I am pointing out a Reddit trade on AMC, 98 strength rank. Although again, I do like the pattern here. It's had the big run up, had a little bit of a bowl shaped move here, and a little bit of a smaller bowl shape here. Be putting in a higher low right there. See if this can go back to a buy signal. But as long as the chart looks fine, I don't have a problem with anyone trading a Reddit trade. You know what? People are surprised sometimes at where I get some of my stock picks. I'll get stock. I'll listen to anyone that has a stock pick, but I'm not going to trade it based on what they say. If they like a stock or they give a good argument about buying a stock, I'll go look at the chart. If the chart looks good, that's all I need. But hey, if that might mean their argument's more likely to work out. So if you're watching Jim Cramer, I don't care if you get a stock pick from Jim Cramer, but go look at the chart. Does the chart look good? Because just because he likes a stock and he's interviewing the CEO on a show, and there's a ton of times I've looked at the chart and I'm like, I'm going to touch that thing right now, at least from the time frame that I'm trading. And a lot of times that's been the right decision. But there's times where I've picked up stocks that he's talked about and done really well with them because the chart looked good. So I don't care if this is a Reddit favorite, as long as it behaves like an uptrend and we can make money on it, I'm all for it. Let's add it to the watch list though. We also have GameStop in our watch list too, so we're right in the Reddit crowd right now. Although we're not in these stocks yet, we haven't bought them yet. So, all right, that's about all I'm going to go through as far as new positions. I do want to take a look at the portfolio here real quick because there's a couple of things I need to change out. Let's look at the positions. We're still down a little bit. I'm a little frustrated that the market's made such a nice move, and we have a lot of stocks that are just on the edge of taking off. Hopefully that happens here pretty soon. GDYN right here again. It's recently gone to a buy signal. Here's your consolidation right here. It just needs to kind of break out and start going. And you can see the potential when it does. Back here it had a little bit of a consolidation period, and then once it started to take off, it really took off. And another reason why I want these things to break out is so I can have spots where I can move up the stop loss. The stop loss right now, and this one is down below here. So I'd like to see it kind of break out of this range, maybe even pull back a little bit to where it gives me a higher low that I can move that stop to where we can get it to where it's a break-even trade. If we get stopped out, it'll still end up being a small profit or a small loss or a break-even. Helps me feel a little bit better about the trade when I can get to that point. So again, IKNX. It's just been moving sideways, a little bit of a cup with handle formation, but it's just not taken off yet. Stop on this one's a little bit tighter stop. I think I have it right below here, so there's not much room to operate there. and this could be part of what I was talking about earlier, the lack of participation. It is a little bit of a reflection that there's few stocks that have been leading this rally. They've been taken off. Some of these have just been continuing to move sideways a little bit. TTI, this is in the oil sector, and again, oil's kind of pulled back a little bit. I would still think this one's going to be okay. Just wait for it to we have higher highs, higher lows through here. It's kind of pulled back to the last breakout area. So I'd expect this thing to start moving up here pretty soon, hopefully. But when you have all these have been kind of moving sideways, it's understandable that we're not seeing big profits. And I did cash out, like I cashed out of Tesla. Tesla did move higher on its earnings report. And you could make the argument, man, I wish I would have stayed in, but those earnings reports, man, they can go either way, and it could have been down big. We could have wiped out the entire gain we had if it would have been negative. And even then, with the move higher, it's really overbought. It probably is at some point here soon going to move sideways or pull back a little bit. IRIX, got the same thing again. Now our stop is already right here. It's already pretty tight, I believe. But this, again, if it can just clear this and start breaking out, it should start taking off pretty well. And it's just a matter of getting this going. Just unfortunate that so many of the stocks are kind of in the same boat. RIG, same thing. Just has to kind of break out. And to be honest with you, what could be a little bit frustrating is I just got done telling you the market conditions are showing that maybe a stronger likelihood the market moves sideways over the next several days or so, and that could mean where these stocks continue to move sideways. Who knows? Oil, though, has been consolidating a little bit. It might go on a run. It hasn't always been correlated with what the market's doing. It's kind of had a mind of its own lately, so maybe that starts outperforming. We do have a lot of oil stocks, so. SMLP, I'm going to be stopping out of this one because I had my stop right below here, and with so many stocks that are underperforming, I more than anything, I wouldn't mind building up some capital and maybe being able to put it into a stronger pattern. We have too many of these patterns moving sideways, so it is trading. It is up a little bit above the stop loss price, but it did dip below it earlier in the day. But I would rather just go ahead and. We could always get back in this again if it starts breaking out above here. We could always re-enter it, and that might be when it really starts taking off. So, but I think I'm going to go ahead and stop out of this one, and start building up some capital we could put somewhere else. TELL, this one's still okay. I think our stop's down below here, but again, it's a lot of sideways movement, but upside potential. If it starts to take off again, we got good upside potential there. ORMP. Now this one's very close to me because I think this is a recent one I got into, I think on that day right there, and I think I put my stop right below here, if I'm not mistaken. So that one's real close. But I think I'll give it, I'll hang on to that one a little bit longer. Just, it had a bullish day today off of that. And I don't want to jump out of everything, but if this one reverses the next day or so, we'll definitely stop out of that one and build some more cash. EKU, this is a new one I got into. This is a bank sector. Again, higher low right there. Getting ready to break out of this range here. It looks like had a really big update yesterday, and then came back down to that. Concerns me a little bit, but that it reversed so quickly when it looked like it was about to break out. But again, this could be turning the corner. We'll see. But I got into that one yesterday. Stop is pretty tight. It's below this low right here, so try to keep that risk pretty low. I don't know. There's another one I was going to. ESPN, I'm stopping out of. Our stop was right below here. We're clearly below that. All right, so let me go ahead and stop out of those. ESPN, our stop was at 45.36. We're at 44.61. So let's go ahead and sell that. Hold on a second here. It froze up here. Let me log back in again. Have some issues with the site. Yeah, the site's frozen up on me. So, I'm going to stop out of ESPN and SMLP. I'll have to do that. Hopefully this thing will get running again before the market closes. Good news is they're right at the end of the update, so there really wasn't much to add. I wasn't going to add anything else. I did want to go through the watch list, but hold on, let me try something here. Yep, it's not working. All right. There really wasn't anything new I was going to add, though. But I'll let you know if I did add anything. Usually I don't. There's not a lot I'm going to be adding between Thursday and Tuesday, because even if it did go to a buy signal on Friday, I probably wouldn't get the alert till Monday, or or if I got the alert by Monday, I wouldn't get we could get in on Tuesday. But I am going to stop out of ESPN and SMLP, and then kind of go from there. All right, sorry about that. But like I said, we got most of the update in today, and so I think we're good. All right, have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you on Tuesday for the next market update. Bye now.